Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you to the sixth explainer in our Psychology of Happiness series. Today's explainer is titled Happiness, Health, and Quality of Life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. We often think we have this whole well-being thing all figured out, right? We tell ourselves that having a good life just means, getting a clean bill of health at our annual checkup, hitting our 10,000 steps a day, and maybe snagging that promotion at work to ensure a decent paycheck. We check those boxes, and boom, we're doing great. But if that's your primary metric for success, well, prepare to have your preconceptions totally challenged today. We are going to unpack the deep, fascinating science of human flourishing, and I promise you, by the end of this journey we're taking together, you might completely redefine what it means to truly live well.
Let's kick things off with a brilliant insight from the pioneering psychologist Ed Diner. Back in 1984, he noted that subjective well-being is a broad category that includes emotional responses, domain satisfactions, and global judgments of life satisfaction. Now that sounds a bit academic, but it establishes a completely crucial foundation for us today. Well-being goes far, far beyond merely the absence of disease. Think of it this way. A doctor can take your vitals, they can check your blood pressure, they can look at your medical chart to see if your physical machine is running smoothly. But only you can check your life satisfaction. You can't just look at someone's bank account or their lab results to know if they're actually thriving. You really have to understand how they evaluate their own life from the inside out.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by defining the big three. Then we'll explore the web of well-being, look closely at body, mind, and health, and examine social ties and lifestyle. After that, we'll dive into spirituality and yogic wisdom, and finally wrap up with measuring and living well. It's a packed journey, so let's get into it. Starting with Section 1, defining the big three. Okay, so we often think of happiness as just feeling good, right? Psychologists call this hedonic happiness. This is your pleasure, your comfort, your sheer enjoyment. Think of hedonic happiness like eating an entire pizza by yourself on a Friday night, or binge watching a really great TV show. It feels absolutely fantastic in the moment. But true happiness isn't just a superficial feeling. It also requires what's called eudaimonic happiness. Now, eudaimonic happiness is all about meaning, virtue, purpose, and psychological flourishing. It's more like, say, volunteering for a cause you care deeply about, or raising a child. In the moment, those things can be really hard work, incredibly stressful, and honestly, entirely lacking in instant gratification. But deep down, they give you a profound sense of purpose. As researcher Carol Raff pointed out, relying only on pleasure is just a very narrow view. A truly happy life is a multi-dimensional condition that beautifully marries that momentary emotional positivity with purposeful, meaningful living. And just as happiness is multidimensional, so is health. Modern health perspectives go way, way beyond just being free from a cold or an illness. Think about it. You might have a perfect physical on paper. Your cholesterol might be flawless, but if you're entirely isolated, completely exhausted, or emotionally drained every single day, are you actually healthy? Modern science says absolutely not. Health looks at physical functioning, yes, of course, but it also absolutely requires psychological health, like your self-esteem and your ability to cope with setbacks. It includes social health, which is your sense of belongingness in a community, and behavioral dimensions too. Health isn't just biology. It is a deeply intertwined psychological and social process. This brings us to a stark contrast between our objective and subjective quality of life. The objective side is what you can measure externally, like a checklist. It's your income, your housing, education, healthcare, and safety. But the subjective side, that's your internal world. It's your personal satisfaction, your meaning, your perceived health, and your emotional balance. To make this relatable, imagine two neighbors. They live in identical houses, they have the exact same income, they go to the same hospitals, and they live in the same exceptionally safe neighborhood. Objectively speaking, their quality of life is identical. But subjectively, one might feel completely trapped, deeply unfulfilled, and anxious all the time, while the other feels profound gratitude, purpose, and everyday joy. The World Health Organization actually defines quality of life in relation to a person's individual goals, their expectations, and their cultural context. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about what you have, it's about how you personally experience what you have.
That leads us nicely into Section 2, the web of well-being.
So how do all these things interact? Well, happiness and health are essentially a two-way street. It's this incredible bi-directional feedback loop where one constantly reinforces the other. Research by Diner and Chan maps out exactly how this works, and it's fascinating. Happy individuals don't just magically happen to live longer. They follow specific, observable pathways. First, happiness makes us way more likely to build and maintain healthy habits. I mean, let's be honest, you're far more likely to go for a run or cook a healthy meal when you feel emotionally stable, right? Second, positive emotions actively strengthen our biological systems. They literally improve our immunity and cardiovascular function over time. And third, happiness vastly improves our stress recovery. When you have a solid baseline of well-being, a stressful event at work doesn't derail your entire week. Your nervous system literally bounces back faster, preventing the long-term wear and tear that leads to chronic disease. It is a beautiful cycle. Good health allows you to enjoy life, and enjoying life actively protects your physical health.
But we have to ask the tough question. What happens when our health actually fails? Because it happens to the best of us. While health strongly dictates our overall quality of life, it's resilience and social support that ultimately define the lived experience. Dealing with chronic illness or pain is incredibly difficult, and we have to be empathetic to the fact that it certainly reduces a person's physical independence. But here's the amazing part. A patient's quality of life can still remain remarkably high. It really speaks to the unbelievable power of the human spirit. People navigate immense physical suffering by finding deeper meaning, receiving compassionate family care, and drawing on immense spiritual strength. Quality of life isn't just about whether or not you have a disease. It is heavily about the emotional and social environment in which you experience life alongside that illness.
Moving on to Section 3, Body, Mind, and Health.
Have you ever heard of the broadened and build theory? It was introduced by Barbara Fredrickson, and it's a total game changer. Let me break down this idea of thought-action tendencies for you because it's genuinely fascinating. When we experience a negative emotion, like, say, fear, our brain narrows our focus entirely to just surviving. It's pure tunnel vision. You don't care about anything else. But when we experience positive emotions, like joy or curiosity, our brain does the exact opposite. It broadens our horizons. We become more open, more flexible, and way more willing to try new things. And over time, this openness actually builds long-term psychological resources. It fosters creative problem-solving and massively enhances our social and intellectual capacity. So positive emotions are not just fleeting, happy little feelings that make us smile. They are literally the biological tools we use to build a stronger, more capable mind.
And psychologist Carol Riff gives us a brilliant, comprehensive blueprint for what that flourishing mind actually looks like in practice. With her components of psychological well-being, she argues that mental health requires active, continuous personal growth. First, it requires autonomy. That's the ability to think for yourself and resist social pressures. Then, positive relations with others. Next is self-acceptance, and this means truly embracing who you are, flaws and all, not just the good parts. Then there's environmental mastery. That basically means feeling competent in managing your daily life in the complex environments around you, essentially feeling like you can confidently handle whatever a random Tuesday throws at you. Add to that a strong purpose in life and an ongoing, lifelong commitment to personal growth. As you can see, this isn't just about surviving day to day or lacking a psychological disorder. This is the ultimate blueprint for thriving.
This brings us to Section 4, Social Ties and Lifestyle.
We are deeply, deeply social creatures, and our social and lifestyle habits create a powerful upward spiral. Researchers Diener and Seligman found that very happy people invariably possess rich social ties and spend much less time alone. Meaningful relationships, marriage, and community support are the absolute bedrock of well-being. But let's paint a picture of how this directly connects to your lifestyle. Say you get a really good night's sleep and eat a balanced diet. Naturally, you wake up with more energy. That energy makes you far more likely to engage in physical activity and exercise. Researchers Panito and Don linked that physical activity directly to improved mood and higher confidence. And because you feel confident and in a great mood, you are much more likely to reach out to friends and participate in your community, which deepens those meaningful relationships. It's an amazing cycle. Every single healthy choice inherently feeds the next one.
Of course, we do have to acknowledge reality here. Aging, declining physical strength, and chronic stress absolutely challenge our well-being. And this matters to all of us, because literally none of us can escape aging. But the goal isn't to stubbornly fight the clock. The goal is to build the emotional toolkit to thrive alongside it. Researchers like Steptoe, Deaton, and Stone found that subjective well-being remains incredibly vital in later life. We preserve our well-being through wisdom, by finding new meaning in our changing circumstances, by practicing radical acceptance, and by regulating our emotions. Healthy aging isn't just about taking your vitamins and doing daily crosswords, as great as those are. It is heavily reliant on social inclusion and deep spiritual resilience.
Let's shift gears a bit for Section 5, Spirituality and Yogic Wisdom.
Martin Seligman's flourishing model, which is often called the PERMA model, perfectly captures this higher level of well-being. Let's elaborate on that acronym because it's super useful. P is for positive emotion. E is for engagement, or finding true flow in your daily activities where you lose track of time. R is for relationships, M is for meaning, and A is for accomplishment. Now I want to highlight that M, meaning. It is a critical pillar here. Spirituality and meaning, whether you find it through formal religion, a deep meditation practice, a profound connection to nature, or dedicating yourself to selfless service, they provide absolutely critical resilience during suffering. When we face terrible loss or severe uncertainty, it is our deeply held sense of meaning that allows us to feel that our life remains valuable and purposeful.
What's really wild is how modern psychology perfectly mirrors ancient wisdom. This aligns beautifully with Indian philosophical traditions, which have viewed human flourishing holistically for thousands of years. In these traditions, we have the concept of sukha, which translates to happiness, ease, or pleasantness. It sounds a whole lot like that momentary, pleasure-driven hedonic happiness we talked about earlier, right? But then there is ananda. Ananda is a deeper, enduring bliss connected to dharma, moral conduct, and profound inner peace. It perfectly echoes eudaimonic purpose. In this view, true quality of life integrates the physical body, the mental state, and moral conduct into one unified experience of profound bliss. What's really wild is how modern psychology perfectly mirrors ancient wisdom. This aligns beautifully with Indian philosophical traditions, which have viewed human flourishing holistically for thousands of years. In these traditions, we have the concept of sukha, which translates to happiness, ease, or pleasantness. It sounds a whole lot like that momentary, pleasure-driven hedonic happiness we talked about earlier, right? But then there is ananda. Ananda is a deeper, enduring bliss connected to dharma, moral conduct, and profound inner peace. It perfectly echoes eudaimonic purpose. In this view, true quality of life integrates the physical body, the mental state, and moral conduct into one unified experience of profound bliss.
And the yogic framework offers a highly practical map to actually achieve this holistic health. Think about how many people today go to the gym to stay flexible, or use mindfulness apps on their phones to de-stress during a terrible commute. These aren't just modern trends. They are parts of an ancient, interconnected system for well-being. Asana targets physical functioning, strength, and flexibility. Pranayama works on regulating breath and vital energy. Meditation actively manages our stress and calms the mind. And the yama and niyama provide the ethical and personal discipline necessary for social harmony. It is an ancient system deliberately designed for exactly the multidimensional health that modern science is heavily promoting today. They had it figured out a long time ago.
And finally, let's bring it all together in Section 6, Measuring and Living Well.
Now, you might be sitting there wondering, how on earth do researchers actually measure all these deeply subjective feelings? The answer lies in transforming abstract concepts into hard science using specific, validated tools. We have three primary instruments to look at here. First is the SF-36, developed by Ware and Sherburne. This measures health-related quality of life, things like your bodily pain, your physical functioning, and your daily vitality. Then there's the SWLS, or Satisfaction with Life Scale, created by Ed Diner. This measures the purely cognitive side of subjective well-being. It asks you directly how you evaluate your own life against your own personal standards. Finally, the World Health Organization Quality of Life instrument looks at physical, psychological, and environmental dimensions on a massive global scale. These tools are game changers because they allow doctors, researchers, and policymakers to translate our intersubjective feelings into actionable, measurable data.
And the practical implications of having this data are massive. This is where we talk about why this matters so much to our daily lives. When we can accurately measure well-being, it shifts how society operates from the top down. Healthcare must pivot to prioritize overall well-being, not just playing whack-a-mole with the symptoms of a disease. Our education systems need to start teaching emotional resilience and coping skills right alongside math and science. Public policy must be geared toward creating supportive environments, literally shaping the cities and neighborhoods we live in to actively encourage community and safety. And on a personal level, we are empowered to take charge of our own flourishing by maintaining healthy routines, deliberately fostering social ties, and actively seeking out meaning every single day. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative question to ponder in your own life. Are you building a life of true flourishing, or are you merely avoiding illness? It's a big distinction. Remember, health and happiness are not just the absence of the bad stuff, they are the active, daily cultivation of the good through your mind, your physical body, your community, and your sense of purpose. Thank you so much for joining me for this comprehensive explainer on the true nature of well-being. I had a blast going through this with you. If you found this valuable and want to continue exploring the psychology of human flourishing, please be sure to like this video, leave a comment with your biggest takeaway, share this with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next deep dive. I will see you in the next one.